This week will mark a different kind of return to BMO Field, as for the first time since October 2019, the Canadian men's national team will be back on home soil on Thursday to kick off the final round of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying against Honduras. My name is Mitchell Tierney. This is Waking the Red Weekly, presented by Footy Talks. We could not be more excited to welcome back the national team. We'll have plenty of chat about them as we go ahead on this show. Also, some incredible scenes in the Canadian Championship as well. That'll definitely get mentioned, and plenty more to chat about both those things. With us this week, we have one of our favorite guests and friend of the show, Aleister Gangue-Ruzic from Between the Sticks, Vancouver, will be joining us in just a few. But first, as always, Jeffrey P. Nesker, Michael Singh. How you boys doing?
Hello,
Mitch.
cool cats and kittens.
Mitch, happy birthday, man. Happy belated birthday, buddy.
HBD.
Gotta give you a little
Shit.
birthday shout out on the show. He's got a nice kit just in time for it. You should show off
Yep.
the back of that kit, Mitch. I think you should do it for
He
for the
can't
crowd.
get out. He's stuck. He's
I literally,
absolutely
my
stuck.
legs are trapped. You don't even understand. At some point, I'll reveal what my setup looks like fully. But Jeff understands.
There's no way. There's no way you're ever seeing the back of that thing.
to show the back. But it is.
Yeah.
It is a cousin Kieran Tierney Scotland kit. Had to do it for the. I definitely couldn't get an Arsenal kit. Sorry, Jeff. I think you
Definitely could
you
not
understand,
get an Arsenal
but-
kit.
I don't understand. That's all I ever get. But it's looking. Your kit's looking a lot less shiny than it did in the initial picture. It looked like a sheer shiny silk kit. So this one, it's looking more like a kit. There you go.
Yeah. Okay, I took a bad picture of it the first time I was showing everyone. Everyone was like,
I think it sucks, but no, actually, it's pretty nice. Yeah.
Realistically, though, Mitch, that should have been a Canada kit. Come on, big
Realistically,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
week. Big week, man. I'm just kidding.
I'm pretty sure Mitch has
certainly.
about 1,000 Canada kits, so he's sorted, right? You're not worried about stuff to wear on Thursday, I think.
No,
So there
it's
you
gonna be picking in between. Might have to bring out the Canada soccer bucket hat. I think that'll be a
Oh
that'll
wow!
be a look down at BMO on Thursday.
2019
Oh,
vibes,
wow.
baby.
Yeah,
2019
yeah.
vibes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where you guys gonna be? Where are you guys sitting?
I'm in 117.
Yeah, same with
I
me,
wanted to be
so-
close to the cider bar because I
there we
just
go.
realized
Nice.
it existed. Yeah. And then I think I'm in 113 for the other one. I wanted to do both sides. But I think it was also target of what seats I could get. So
The
How about you,
website.
Mitchell?
Thunder just saying in the chat, the website doesn't have the podcast page up. I happen to see the YouTube feed come up. Yeah, that's my bad, guys. Kind of dropped the ball on posting the podcast on the site, but I will get it up there after. So appreciate you searching for us, Thunder. Spread the word, man. Spread the word. Do it for us.
and we promise we won't let it happen again. Yeah, true enough. Mitch, I've got my finger on this this image here. So you want to do your plugin?
All right, let's do it. Well, obviously a lot of exciting things this week, but one of them certainly near and dear to me, of course, is Darby Mag Issue One, which just dropped. Pre-orders have been extended for today as well. So if you haven't picked up your magazine yet, go over and grab it for sure. That cover right there, beautiful cover featuring the Ensa brothers of York United. They were photographed by the incredible Montreal-based photographer 94, and there's some incredible other images in there as well, and a lot of WTR content in this one. We've got Benedict Rhodes has a piece, Brady Reed has a piece as well, and today's guest, Alex Gangue-Ruzic, has an article on Vancouver and a deep dive on that soccer scene. So definitely won't want to miss out on that. So like I said, go over to darbymag.com/shop, get your copy. We also have a special launch event in Toronto on Friday. So if any of you guys can make it out to that, that'd be amazing to see you guys. You can hit up the Darby Mag socials and find out more about that. Jeff and I will both be in attendance. So we'll see you there for sure. And speaking of things Jeff and I will be in attendance at, like we said, BMO Field Thursday, Canada opening up against Honduras. I think we actually have our guests ready to go here, so we can
Let's do
get
it.
into that game.
Let's do it.
That game immediately. Yeah, let's bring on
have
Alex.
we mentioned the elephant in the room once in that intro? I'm so proud of us, guys. I don't think we've mentioned the team that plays at BMO regularly once in that intro. So, yay.
Well, we don't usually talk about the Argonauts on this podcast.
Amazing.
But yeah, now joined by Alex Gangue-Ruzic of Between the Six Vancouver. Alex, amazing to have you on. Very excited for this week ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I mean, there's so much to talk about, so it's great just to be able to chat about that. There's been a fair few things, and I mean, before we start, a little birdie told me it was your birthday today, Mitch, or yesterday, I think it was. Yeah. So happy birthday to you, Mitch. Pleasure to join you guys. I'm excited. We got so much to talk about.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
No coincidence you have that Pacific jersey in the background. Eh? No coincidence.
I plant the decor to kind of suit what's going on. So
did you trade in a Vancouver Whitecaps jersey for it? That's the $1 million question.
Sources cannot confirm nor deny that one. I may have sent in a Whitecaps kit to one of my pals who is in attendance to
amazing.
Kit, but,
amazing.
I
love that they're still doing that. That's because we were wondering if that was still going on, like if it was just a precursor to the game. And now that they have their superiority, they would abandon that scheme. But I'm glad that they ain't, because that's fantastic. Yep.
I mean, as you saw, they deserve it after that game. I mean,
absolutely.
What a night.
What a night. I got questions about that, but Mitchell's going to lead us off with a big old general question, right, Mitch?
Of course, as I do. Well, obviously, a lot of things going on this week, but the biggest one for all of us is, of course, the World Cup qualifying for Canada, and obviously a big week. They start against Honduras. They've got the United States away on Sunday, and then El Salvador as well. How big is this first month for Canada in terms of, obviously you want to start well and set the tone, but 2 home games against teams that they're pretty much directly competing for that, maybe that third spot in the region. How big is this week?
I think this is a massive week. In a competition like this, you can't really dip your toes in the water as much as you'd like to, but compared to some other teams, they are getting to dip their toes into the water a bit by playing 2 games at home against Honduras and El Salvador, 2 very beatable teams at home on paper. I mean, for example, just if you look at the direct neighbors to the south, they have to open with El Salvador away, and they have to open with some tough games. So I think if you had to pick 3 opening games, you take U.S. away and then El Salvador and on to Honduras home. You can get 6 points there easily. Heck, maybe even 7 if you steal one away from the U.S. Anywhere from there, and then that's good, because the magic number for this is just getting half of the points available. And from 14 games, you want to win 7 of your games. That's 21 points. And if you come out with 6 of 9 winning all your home games, you're set heading into the tougher windows that lie ahead. So I think this week's massive, because they can kind of get off to a good start and really give them the belief that they can qualify for the World Cup. And the stronger the belief gets, the better the fan support gets, the more the players believe. It's going to create a good, I guess, concoction of a storm that might allow them to qualify for that World Cup.
Yeah, Jeff, before you get into your question, I just have a quick follow-up to that. Mitch touched on it, but Alex, what are the teams that Canada, we know about the US, we know about Mexico, but what are the teams that Canada are also like really competing with for that 3rd and 4th spots there in the CONCACAF region?
I think it's Jamaica. I think Jamaica is a really, really solid team, especially when they're able to call up some of the guys they want, some of the guys they have. There's obviously a bit of confusion with what's going on over in Jamaica with the whole federation and whatnot. If not, Costa Rica is still a very formidable side, although, as we saw at the Gold Cup, they are a beatable team now, one that Canada can compete with. I think El Salvador, Honduras, Panama, you can't count those teams out. I think Panama has impressed me a lot this summer. I thought personally they were a bit old. I thought they were a bit washed after the last cycle, but they've found some youth. They play good attacking football now, and you can't discount that. Ditto with
can't discount Armando Cooper. You
can't discount those sort of wild cards that Panama has.
Championship pedigree.
Yep. MLS Cup champion Armando Cooper right there. DP material. Too. Yeah, exactly.
And then you got El Salvador as well. Similar boat again. I thought a year ago that I thought they were finished, a team that really wasn't going anywhere. They hire a new coach. They bring in a bunch of dual nationals. All of a sudden, they look like a whole new team. And And Honduras, I mean, when you play at San Pedro Sula, you're always going to have an advantage if you're Honduras. So there's no team here that can really look in the mirror and say we're out of this. But if I'm going to focus on two, I think Jamaica and Costa Rica are the two Canada really need to watch out for the third, fourth place teams. I think the other teams I mentioned are more banana peel teams that you can slip up against, but realistically Canada should win at home and realistically even grab a point or three away from. But if you can beat Jamaica, Costa Rica, that would send a message to the rest of the region that you are a top three team. Those are the teams that right now have been the top three teams behind Mexico and the US, and they need to prove that by beating them.
There's no reason it can't be Canada. But go ahead. Jeff.
There's absolutely no
reason it shouldn't be.
You raised an interesting point. Because you said we need to prove to these guys that we can beat them, and I'm under the impression that we've already proven that. So they're running scared. Jamaica's interesting because for anybody that doesn't know, they're having a real problem getting their players called up for various reasons. Quite a few of them play in England, and England's had a kibosh on international call-ups. Do you still think that they're a team that can do damage in this World Cup qualification, at least this early round, or do you think that they're going to suffer mightily for lack of people on the roster that they wanted?
They've got Kamar Lawrence, man. Come on.
And Whitecaps Javane Brown now, he's been also up, so there's an MLS contingent. But I think with Jamaica, it'll be interesting to see who they can pull, because especially there's that strong like Jamaican English links. You see some of those players linked, like if a guy like Michael Antonio ends up playing for Jamaica, like that's a game changer. He'd be one of the top strikers in the region without a doubt. And there's a few other names you see, like is Mason Greenwood really going to commit? There's some of those guys like a Mason Holgate at the back that would be a game changer. But I'm not going to talk.
Sorry, wait, did you mention Mason Greenwood?
I've seen reports out there that he could supposedly be eligible. So that's what I mean.
No.
Some of the guys with Jamaican descent in England, it's ridiculous. So if any of these guys would commit, but focusing just on the guys they have, even a guy like Leon Bailey is an explosive, prospect on his own. He now made his big move to England over from Leverkusen. Always been a fantastic player. They've got wild cards like that in their roster, and just looking at the talent level, I think they've got the talent already. I think at times coaching has been an issue, but I think they're finding a bit of stability there. And I also think they do have a pretty good home field advantage amongst teams in CONCACAF. They kind of got that Caribbean, environment, hot environment, good fans. It's not an easy place to play in, and people kind of forget that. I guess in their minds they think, okay, it's Jamaica, it's kind of a relaxing place. No, it's hot. They kind of play on the island there. The fans are very passionate, and I think there's a reason why Jamaica's become a top team in the region. We can't forget that they've made countless Gold Cup finals, and they've made plenty of noise. Heck, I think at the Gold Cup this summer they outplayed the U.S. thoroughly, and the U.S. just won with the late goal. And
and that was a messy Jamaica side. Good point. Yeah,
and they're missing players, as you mentioned. So I think Jamaica is absolutely the sort of wild card that I guess you look at them and you get a bit complacent. And that's the most dangerous part about them, because they're a team that you can't afford to be complacent about, because arguably in the past 5 years they've been the number 3 team. They've passed a team like a Costa Rica, and they've been above them. So I'm 100% wary of what Jamaica can do.
Very interesting. What other teams do you think we maybe are sleeping on? You said Costa Rica, and we beat those veterans soundly. Do you think that they've got a chip on their shoulder now the next time they face us?
I think that factors in, especially with a Canadian B team. I think that they're going to take that personally. I mean, it's going to be hard for them to stop an Alphonso Davies, a Jonathan David, but to be fair to them, there's not many teams in the region that will. So I think Costa Rica, they kind of give me that Panama vibes from the last cycle, a team that they might be counted out because they're an older team, and all of a sudden they might just scrape through because they know what it takes to win. So I certainly won't discount that. But the team I'm watching out for is El Salvador, because again, like I mentioned a year or two ago, in my eyes, I watched them struggle against Montserrat, a country with barely 5,000 people, and then I watched them at the Gold Cup, and they were playing legit, footy. They gave Mexico a run for their money. They gave some other good teams a run for their money, and I just look at some of those sneaky good commits, like a guy like an Alex Roldan, for example. That's a very sneaky good pickup. He can play fullback. He can play in midfield. and there's a whole swath of other ones. There's a striker. I don't want to butcher his name because I don't remember it off the top of my head, but he's playing.
Eric Zavaleta.
I was gonna say it's a big name there.
One.
We're in the armband.
I forget who I was talking to the other week, but someone mentioned Zavaleta, and I'm like, honestly, if for Toronto FC right now, if they could convince him to wear an El Salvador kit on the
seriously,
Toronto FC,
for serious.
It's kind of like that Victor Lindelof Sweden kind of vibe. Because when Victor Lindelof, I'm a United fan, so when Victor Lindelof plays for Sweden, this guy looks like an absolute baller. Like he's forced into a situation where he has to step up and be the guy. And it's sort of the same way with Eric Zavaleta at the back. Like he's forced to be a leader at the back, but he doesn't really have that pull with TFC. And I wonder if that kind of plays a factor where you're kind of raising your game because of your camaraderie around you. I wonder if that plays into it a bit.
International Granit Xhaka is my favorite player that plays for Arsenal, and we've never ever seen him on the pitch. Blonde international Granit Xhaka is amazing. Brunette Granit Xhaka, I don't even understand. Like they're not the same person. So it's not just a Man United thing. But El Salvador is an interesting shout. Conversely, what team do you think are minnows that we don't need to be worried about at all?
Ooh, the minnows question. Okay. I mean, again, I think as the Gold Cup kind of showed, in terms of talent, Costa Rica shouldn't put the same fear in you as it did 3, 4, 5 years ago. So I'd say that's certainly a minnow. I think Panama, they can score, but also their defense was a tire fire. I think you just look at some of the scores from their games in the Gold Cup. There was like 3-3, 4-3. Just some ridiculous scores. They didn't make it out of their group. I think a team like Panama, because if you're Canada, you can outscore pretty much anyone in the region. I don't think there's a team you look at that you cannot score 2 goals against. And I think you can include Mexico in that. I think Canada, the fact with the B team at the Gold Cup, they got a nice goal against Mexico. They should have, frankly, had more. Now you've got Alphonso Davies, you've got your Jonathan Davids, you have a fit Kyle Larin, who we forget, left the Gold Cup with an injury. Tejan
and Cava, who's not fit but is going to be there, right?
Please scream Tejan Buchanan's name because he's going to continue to dominate. I'm predicting
dominate. My God,
he's in his form right now is absurd. So you look at those 4 names. Canada's going to score goals, and against a Panama team that leaks goals no matter who they're playing against. Okay, I think Canada, if anything, that's a game that if you're Canada, you're targeting for the away game, because just kind of to go back to what I mentioned at the beginning, that magic target of 21 points, you get it by winning all 7 of your home games, but that's easier said than done. You have to play Mexico at home, you have to play US at home. There's a very strong possibility you draw, you lose one of those games.
Sure,
you never know, but that means you have to go on the road and pick up points. And okay, it's not necessarily realistic to say go out and win in Honduras yet. I mean, they might prove us wrong, and that's the whole point of this qualifiers, to prove that this team is legit. But I'm not going to sit here and say you guys need to go win in Honduras, because until it's happened, and there's been a lot of good teams that have gone down there and failed. So I look at a team like Panama, just with how loose they are defensively. Canada could go down there, snatch a few goals, pick up 3 points. All of a sudden, you're well on your way to helping yourself get into the World Cup qualifiers, get past that kind of magic number of 21 points. So I'm looking at Panama as a potential team that they could get a road win against and get the 6 points off of and put them on their way to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a bold prediction here, completely irrelevant to what you just said, but I will circle back to that in a second. Tejan Buchanan, by the end of this, I don't want to say window, like this September to October window, I think fans will start to put him in the same category as Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David, if they're not already.
If they haven't already,
I think they will do that because he is on that sort of trajectory, and I honestly believe he's right there to potentially be like in that sort of echelon. Obviously, Alphonso Davies considered potentially the best left back in the world. I wouldn't put Tejan Buchanan there, but just as that part of that big 3, let's call it. We see hear it all the time in basketball, but I think Tejan will cement himself in that category. But Alex, circling back to what you kind of just touched on, John Herdman has talked about it. 7 games at home, he wants 21 points. He wants to win every single match at home. What's your prediction there? Is that realistic? Can Canada really do that?
Yeah, and I mean, quickly just to amend what you said, I think it's a big five. Don't discount Stefan Eustáquio or Kyle Larin based on how they've played
Yeah.
this year. So I'll just throw that out there. Buchanan can join certainly. But as for
Junior
the
Hoylett.
home,
I mean, come on, guys.
I think we'll
And
stretch it with the
Mitch
big
is gonna
six,
melt
so
if you don't
go.
say Sam Piet. It's his birthday. You gotta throw it a Sammy P. So,
But as for the qualifiers, I think it's realistic at home. I think at home, if you look, Canada actually hasn't lost a home game. I think it's almost 5 or 6 years. They've actually done really well at home. They've beat teams like the US at home. Some other, I think they've drawn or beat a Jamaica. They beat a Curacao. They've beat some good teams at home in recent years. And you just look, they've got great facilities that just kind of are conducive to how they play. You look at BMO Field with the grass, the kind of environment there. They like that. If not in Vancouver, they've shown to be pretty good on the turf there. Those are probably the two main facilities we'll see for them. They look to be comfortable in them. They don't mind playing there. A lot of the players are familiar. I think there's no reason why they can't go get 21 points at home based on what they've shown. It's really going to be all about the road for me, because that's the game changer. I think Canada easily say 15 points are achievable at home. I think that there's no reason why they can't go out and beat Panama, Jamaica, Honduras, El Salvador, those five. But it's really the U.S. and Mexico. Okay, you slip up against them. How is Canada going to do on the road? And I think that for me is the most fascinating development. I think especially this year, they haven't played a home game all year. Every game has been on the road, and they've shown some impressive poise. I think that win 1-0 away against Haiti, that's the exact sort of fight and determination they're going to need to beat an El Salvador away. So I think Herdman's assessment of the team being able to win 21 points at home, very fair, very fair. I think if they can do that, power to them, because then all they need is 1 or 2 points on the road out of a possible 21, and that's a lot more doable than say sorted. 6 or 9 or 12. So I like Herdman's confidence, and I certainly believe that. But for me, I think really it's the road games. I think whoever, looking at the 8 teams in this Octo, this Ocho, I'm sticking with the Octo for now. I am curious what you guys' thoughts on Ocho.
Never Ocho. Ocho's terrible. Octo's the one. Ocho.
Good to know we're on the same page there. So
yeah, exactly.
In the Octo, it's really whatever teams do the best on the road. I think we're going to see some surprises, because if there's, say, a team like at the bottom, one of the supposed bottom, if a Honduras goes on a road bender, all of a sudden they might be in a World Cup qualifier spot, because every team in CONCACAF is comfortable at home and they should win their home games. And it's really, for me, Herdman should hope. I think he is. I think it's more for talking points. We want to be winning at home. Of course, you want to get fans out. You want to get, you want to get your 15,000 at BMO right now. And then when numbers go up in other stadiums, you want to get 30,000 at BMO. You want to get 55,000 at BC Place. You want to get those numbers up. But no, it's crazy numbers. But for me, the road games are the ones that actually might matter most. And I think there, Canada, if they can shoot for a 6-9 points, their qualification should be sorted pretty easily.
Fantastic.
So, and then that's realistic. Fantastic. I think that's very realistic based on what they've shown the past few years.
I love the term road bender. I'm definitely using that.
Yeah, definitely. Road benders are good.
That's going to road bender this week.
Yeah.
There you go.
Road bender. Do we want to get into furious detail, or do we want to switch gears and talk about that night at Starlight, under the starlight?
Well, I think we should talk, at least while we have Alex, a bit about the Whitecaps in general, because there's a lot going on there. I think probably start with MDS and the situation there. What was it just that match, or what fueled the decision to let him go? Because it did seem like the Whitecaps are actually headed in a decent direction here. You've seen Ryan Gold come in and really be a difference maker for them. Some of their other new signings have worked out well. So what was it that they decided that it wasn't MDS who was the guy to lead this club forward into this next step?
Boy, it's a tough one, because I think if you talk to most people who watch the Whitecaps the past few years, they've thought this move was coming at some point. And, there were certain times you wondered, was this the time? Was this the time?
Yeah.
And ironically, this was one of the times where it felt like no one thought it was coming. Like, okay, it was just, it's the timing of the move that's so awful. I think if you look at the Whitecaps the first game after, obviously they're playing a very disjointed Salt Lake team. they looked phenomenal, and it shows they've got the talent in this roster. I think they can play nice football. It's just it feels kind of almost unfair to Marc Dos Santos with his contract expiring at the end of the year, just not to let him give him a run out with this team, a team that he finally got after 2.5 years, and see what he can do with it and go from there. And it's like, I think I threw this out on our podcast at Third Sub. We were talking about it the other day. The beautiful thing about Marc Dos Santos' contract situation is if you're up there in the front office and you don't like him, you want to get rid of him, his contract was up. You could go out if he wins a chip and you don't like how he's playing, you can get rid of him. But whereas now you get rid of him a few months early, there's pressure on them because they're in a playoff spot right now. They're a playoff or tied for a playoff spot. If their form drops and they tank and they miss the playoffs, then you wonder why not just let Marc Dos Santos run out the season at that point? Was it really necessary to make a change and bring in a new face who wasn't the right option? But controversially, what I think they're relying on, and it's a risky gamble on their on the part of the front office, is you go on a bit of a bender or a heater. I guess the wrong word. The bender is the wrong word. You go on a bit of a
bender. It's all bender.
You're on this show, baby.
The other scenario. But you go on a bit of a heater, and then you make the playoffs. You look like geniuses. Oh, maybe it was Marc Dos Santos. You have the roster, and it just feels like looking at the Whitecaps and talking to some of the people who work there. Someone like Axel Schuster, CEO, sporting director, he's made a lot of great decisions ever since he's come in. Some of the signings he's made phenomenal. You look at not only a Ryan Gauld, who he waited a little longer than most people would have liked, but look how good he's been. It's been the right choice. So good. But not just Gauld. You look at a Janiel Bikel, a Christian Dahome, some of these other players that have kind of rounded out the roster have all been fantastic. But one thing that struck us about Schuster is he's a long-term guy. He's a guy that looks on the future. And this Marc Dos Santos firing, while there are some long-term implications, this felt really much like a move in the reaction to here and now.
Yeah, and total knee-jerk. Absolutely, yeah.
That it came from maybe above Schuster, some of the owners. And I think it's not a bad move in the long term. And I think we kind of got a taste of that because I think the Whitecaps will kind of find a bit of new life with the talent they have. But it just didn't feel like the right move at the time. And it feels like a move that it's very short-term thinking. And I think for a Whitecaps team that has finally started to get a bit of stability and start thinking with the eye on the longer term, knowing that sort of influence, that short-term influence could still be in there, could be a bit of a dangerous thing going forward, knowing that if things go wrong, short-term thinking might take over. And that's dangerous.
Yeah, it is dangerous. And I think we're in for the same sort of thing. Following a match with Destiny and a team that plays in green and blue in a couple of weeks. But
I was going to say quickly, Jeff, must have been a reaction to seeing what's going on around MLS because for whatever reason, when someone is let go at head coach, there's a spark from your team. We saw it with TFC.
Yeah, the new coach.
When TFC first, let go of Chris Armas, Javier Perez stepped in, and the team, they stepped up. I mean, they played the New England Revolution off the park in their first match, and then they went on a little bit of an undefeated streak, right? I think they went up to 5 games undefeated. And when Javier Perez started, you look around to Atlanta United, let go of their head coach, and look what's happened there. Maybe he's just seeing what's going on and like this team needs a spark. They need that push over the playoff line. And, look what happened with Vancouver against Real Salt Lake. So we'll see. He
was also on a temporary coach.
Not always.
Yeah,
exactly. I will caution though. It's not always, it doesn't always last. I'll tell you that.
Well, I mean, you sugarcoated the 5 undefeated run that we all remember as the most frustrating 1-1 draws in the history of the franchise. So yeah, I mean,
and boy, do I miss it.
yeah. I mean, MDS is. I'm a fan. I know you are on a personal level. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Unfortunately, I think in macro, you can't go out you can't be the first MLS side to go out 2 years in a row, regardless of the COVID asterisks, to a CPL club. I think that he had to wear that from the top down. I think that didn't look good on any reports, and someone's head had to roll. I mean, I don't know if you said this to me actually, but you were saying that, or someone was saying to me that you guys were suffering the same 1-1 draw situation with the Whitecaps, and that seemed to hold the guillotine from fully extending over MDS and the rest of his assistants' heads because they were still incrementally making moves up the table and holding on to their spot. I mean, listen, this in a roundabout way gets to my question, because honestly, that game against Pacific at Starlight feels epochal to me. It feels epochal in a way that the Canadian Championship has never ever felt before. It feels epochal in the tweets that I've retweeted and the YouTube comments from casual soccer fans on the West Coast that are now maybe switched on to be hardcore soccer super fans. What's next? I mean, do you agree with me how epochal it was, and what is the sky the limit now? What will be the knock-on effect? Like, will we see a huge exodus of Vancouver Whitecaps fans following Pacific now? Will we see kind of the dual nationals or will we just see a huge bump for both teams with respect to attendance and market penetration?
Oh boy, I mean, it's kind of interesting. So there's a lot of people who wear two hats in BC in terms of, okay, you want to support Pacific and you want to support the Whitecaps. And it was interesting to note that there were a lot of Vancouver people that I know that I saw online who went over to the game, and you wondered, okay, how, in my head, I'm expecting dueling fans. I'm expecting 1,000 Whitecaps fans, a lot of Pacific fans. And to be honest, the Whitecaps supporter section, there was 30 people. It was they were shunted into the beer garden, and they filled one line across the fence. And I thought, and I mean, their support is always great. The Whitecaps, they do, the one thing is they tend to travel pretty well to these sorts of away games.
Absolutely.
But a lot of what we saw was a lot of hardcore, heck, Southsiders, like supporters of the Whitecaps, not just fans, supporters going out for Pacific. They have kits, they wanted to, and they decided to support Pacific. And I think it made for a memorable atmosphere, because the official Starlight's capacity is 5,000. The official attendance was 4,997. So just three short of a sellout. It was, it was loud, because
it looked stacked to the rafters, like filled to the gills, man. There
was rarely an empty seat. The beer garden was packed behind both goals. And I went to Starlight the first game.
Of course, Alex knew where the beer garden was. Of course, he was eyeing the beer garden.
I'm just keeping, beer garden, lots of storyline.
Road bender, yeah.
Another bender.
I don't know what the game was like. I was in line at the beer garden the entire game.
All game, just loading up on some good Vancouver Island brews. But on a more serious note, I guess, because I went to the first game at Starlight after the bubble, and it was, I think the official attendance was 2,500 or 3,000. The place was loud. It was rocking. They, for whatever reason, the way they've kind of framed it, it's really like a European closed door stadium.
It's beautiful. I love it. And I've never been there. Yeah.
And you could probably hear it on the TV. Noise sticks there. So when there was 5,000, it was loud. And what, in credit to Pacific, what the best part for me about this victory, this wasn't a case of Pacific going out there playing like an inferior team, putting 9 guys behind the ball, snatching a goal, and you win 1-0, and it's okay, you've beat the Whitecaps. They outplayed the Whitecaps. They played the Whitecaps off the park from. I don't know if it was evident on One Soccer for those who were watching, but in person, Pacific was just, they were passing the ball almost crisper. They were making better runs. They were tackling harder. They were just feeding off the energy, and it just felt like everything they were going to do would come off. Whereas with the Whitecaps, it just felt like they were kind of almost forcing things. And even you look at their first goal when they went down 1-0, it was kind of off of a bit of an error from Pacific, and then obviously a quality of Ryan Gauld to capitalize. But it didn't feel like, other than Ryan Gauld's quality, the Whitecaps had a whole lot going for them that night, whereas it felt like everything Pacific would do, and plus it was mesmerizing, because Pacific would, just with how they play, they just, when they get going, they just launch into these patterns. Every time they launch into an attacking pattern, the crowd would roar, and then it was kind of almost like this mesmerizing moment. You could see Pacific, instead of shrink in front of the big occasion. They have every reason to. These guys are playing. They have no pressure on them in a sense, but they have all the pressure. They have all the fans watching, everyone across the country. They're playing a Whitecaps team they're not expected to beat on paper, because, I mean, yes, for those who know the Whitecaps, no one was surprised by Pacific winning. That's just how it is. Yeah. But you can't ignore the fact that a guy like Ryan Gauld, his salary is worth more than the entire budget operations of Pacific FC like 5 times over. Like, you can't ignore numbers like that. And yet Pacific didn't shrink. They rose to the occasion, and that was memorable, because it showed that not only teams from CPL can beat MLS. That's, I don't think that's necessarily a surprise. And in cup
Yeah.
football, you see it all the time. Anything can
Yeah,
happen.
of course.
But that they can play with an inferiority complex and play with the sort of level that it takes to not only beat an MLS team but dominate them, to show them that they're legit. That was what for me was so memorable about that. Looking back at the game that you witnessed, it was a dominating, performance, more dominating than the 4-3 scoreline indicates. I think that's more down to the Whitecaps' quality that it was even that close, and it was just so memorable to see all the fans, because I know I have a few friends of my own who are soccer fans who don't necessarily always get out to Whitecaps or Pacific games, and they went after, they were like, wow, what a night, like Pacific
what
fan,
an introduction to football.
Fan. And for anyone who made that jump, it's hard to not be romantic about what that event was, and that's what was so special about it.
Yeah, the Can Champ is, I mean, quite subtly has become so bloody important to this country, and it's only going to get more and more important. I mean, these are the stories that we crave. These are the experiences that remind us of how we got bit by the bug of the beautiful game, right? So it was so wonderful to see it in that stadium, and I'm still coasting on a high from it. Yeah, I mean, I can totally change the subject, but if anybody's got a follow up, now's the time.
Well, I'm going to steal Mitch's question, because I really want to hear about this. I think we needed to get it in, because we've been seeing him all over social media. We've been seeing you guys talk about him, but just tell us a little bit about Ryan Gauld and what makes him, I guess in Mitch's words, an absolute game breaker for this Vancouver Whitecaps team.
Sausage rolls and iron brew.
I'm wearing the Scotland jersey, and you're stealing that question.
Right after his birthday, too.
Yep. Happy birthday.
No remorse here. No remorse here.
No mercy.
No,
wow.
Go ahead.
I mean, Ryan Gauld. It's a good question, because I mean,
thank you.
What is Ryan Gauld? Credit to both of you for that one. But what is Ryan Gauld? You look at him. It's something we were talking about even with some other people the other day. You look at him. He doesn't necessarily scream like a professional footballer. He just looks like your average dude who you might have found on the street. He's not the biggest guy, he's not the fastest guy, but you just watch him on the field. The field is just it's his. He knows everything that's going on, and you can just see what the sort of goals he's scoring, sort of chances he's creating. He just knows where everyone on the field is. There's a reason why he scored 3 headers, for example, even though he's 5'7" in 3 games or whatever it is. He just has this knack for showing up in the right pockets. He just he has this instinct to kind of get into areas right at the right time. And because of that, it's got the team playing with such confidence, because they know that when he's on the ball, when he's kind of marshaling things, that the team is going to flow and they're going to get the ball. And he's almost given this team a confidence, and you can just see the quality that he oozes. I mean, he's got a fantastic left foot. You see it with this set piece delivery. I don't think he's missed a corner, to be honest, since he's come in. I think every corner he has at least always been in a dangerous area, if not always getting on the head of a Whitecap. You see that with his runs he makes. When he gets on the ball, he can kind of play as a number 10, but also I like that he shows up in the box like a number 9 and kind of adds that influence. And I think it's just really his IQ. That's the biggest part of his game. He's a true number 10 in every sense of the world. And when you pair that with the quality that he has, it's going to be fantastic. Because for me, what's most notable about him, I think looking at him right now, he's playing at 60-70%. Like, he's not worked up to full fitness. He gasses out easily, yet just with his pure quality and his brain power, you've seen the stats. I think he's played just a hair over 300 minutes or just under, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. He has 4 goals. And arguably it could have been 5, but apparently Brian White's goal went in and before Ryan.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is 4 officially, could be 5 depending on your view of it. He has 2 straight primary assists, 1 secondary assist, 1 assist of an own goal because his corner delivery bounced off someone, went in. He's also won a penalty. I think I was looking, 9 of the last 11 goals have been directly involved in some way by Ryan Gauld creating the secondary assist. It's mind-boggling, because I think in 3 weeks we're going to see the best version of him, because he said it himself. Every time you ask him, he is not fit yet. He is still working up to full fitness, full sharpness, and that's scary. That's scary, and it's good for the Whitecaps because I think they had the sort of talent. The fact that Christian Dahome, before his little injury, I think about a month ago, was top 5 in MLS goal scoring despite playing on a team that had next to no chance creation and service shows
True
that
enough.
he's a great player. A guy like Lucas Cavallini has shown to be a very good goal scorer when he has the service, and he hasn't even played with Ryan Gauld yet. Heck, Brian White's on a heater with 3 goals in 3 games yet.
He's on a bender. He's on a bender.
He's on a bender, despite everyone in Vancouver. They're not necessarily. Brian White's had a very mixed reception, yet he has 3 goals in 3 games.
Yep.
Mostly down to the quality of service of a guy like Ryan Gauld. And it shows you what having a player like that can do to your team. Because not only does he bring his skills, but he's making everyone around him better. And
I love how politically correct you were there. He's had a mixed reception. You could say, Alex, he's been underperforming. Let's say.
Ryan, I'll be honest with Brian White. He's not underperforming just because he's doing good things. Like, he's an unselfish player. He does good hold up play. I think there's a reason why he's fitting well with Gauld, and I'm curious to see if Cavallini can do the same. He's an unselfish player, but you also can't ignore the fact that Brian White's touch gives me a headache most of the time I watch him play. And just sometimes little things like that. So I'll say mixed reception because he actually hasn't been that bad, but it's just little things like his touch drive people up the wall.
Ryan Gould's okay, but he's not very good at dribbling. So hear me out.
Oh no,
we can
Armando Cooper.
We could do a straight trade. You're number 10 for our number 30. Yeah. I think you guys will be 1,000 times better. Stop it, Jeff. I think every one of our you saw me smiling. I think everybody watching this knew that was coming. Let's do the trifecta. Let's cover everything because I want to ask you this question. I was saving this question. Off the back of the women's gold medal win, I want to know your opinion. Do you think we are primed for a domestic women's league, or do you think NWSL is the way to go? And if so, do you think Vancouver is a good market for an NWSL squad?
Very good question.
I want to build off this first because, again, just to plug Darby Magazine, Alex has a very good piece on Darby Mag and the history.
I was waiting for him to plug it, birthday boy, because I'm pretty sure that was in the chamber. But go ahead.
Fair enough. But yeah, he does lay out the history that Vancouver has with the women's game, and it is one of, if not
colorful,
the best. Yeah, women's. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, if I'll be honest, I'll give my personal opinion. I would have loved to see a league, and it's like, there's this someone mentioned it on Twitter, and I've thought about it a lot recently. Arguably, you look at a league like the CPL, great league for what it's been doing for the growth of the men's game in the country, and it's been great. Canada had 3 professional men's teams before, and they had 0 women's teams. Say they did the same thing with the CPL with the women's league. I feel like that also could have been a great opportunity for growing the women's game. So I think personally, a league would make a lot of, it would be great just to have, say, 8 teams. I mean, in an ideal world, you have a CanPL men's, a CanPL women's working side by side. You're kind
in
of
an ideal world, absolutely.
Markets. Yeah. You're kind of, you've got coast to coast covered. You've kind of got a blanket broadcast deal, because that also is a good thing, getting exposure.
Huge.
It's one thing to have a league, but it's it's like if a tree falls in the forest.
Yeah, somebody doing all that heavy lifting. My God, it's a gift. You can't. It's unimaginable. But yeah. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sure you were getting up to speed there. So go ahead.
All good. I think, it's pretty much, in an ideal world, a women's league would be phenomenal. I think, again, with the broadcast deal, all the opportunities for young girls around the country who'd want to play, I'd love that. But I think realistically, it might be just looking at investors. It's hard to pitch to an investor right now. Here's an 8-team league. Go for it. And I mean,
give me money. Yeah.
Personally, I think it's a sort of investment that could pay off, but unfortunately, we can't ignore the reality that for most investors, they like safe investments. They're boring. That's how it is. There's a reason why they're rich, because you make 100 safe investments. Yes, you might, you could make more money in one risky investment, but investors aren't like that. So
no.
I think we might have to start with an NWSL team, or two, grow from there and go, because I think that's kind of what we saw with MLS. You saw teams, okay, Whitecaps are putting 30,000, Toronto are putting 30,000 in seats, Montreal's putting 20,000. Obviously, Saputo's a bit smaller. Oh, okay, there's interest for sport in the soccer. Let's make a men's league. And I think for a women's league, I think I'd love to see it, and I think this country's ready. But if investors aren't willing to invest, okay, let's not wait around for them. Let's at least get something. And I think an NWSL team would be a good way to start with that. I think, for example, I think Vancouver and Toronto are two good markets for that. I'll talk about Vancouver just because I know more about it.
Yeah.
There's a reason why if BMO Field's kind of been the home of the men's national team the past few years, there's a reason why BC Place has been the home of the women's national team, and that's because they're a huge draw here. Obviously, it helps when Christine Sinclair is from, just the city over here in Burnaby. You've got, Sophie Schmitz from Abbotsford, I think it is, Julia Grosso, obviously a new national hero from Burnaby, Jordan Hoytema. It helps that there's that local interest, but there's a strong appetite for the women's game. Back in the day in Swangard, they were pulling in sellouts at Swangard because they were winning titles. I think they had 2 or 3 national titles. Obviously, they're playing in the top American League at the time, predecessor to the NWSL, the USL Women's League, and they were winning. And there's an appetite for here when Canada comes here. It's an easy 20, 25, 30,000 to come watch the women's game. And I don't think there's any reason that would change with an NWSL team in Vancouver. Plus, you can't ignore the fact that the Whitecaps struggling also leaves a lot of disgruntled soccer fans looking to attach themselves to something. And we talked to them, attaching themselves to Pacific. At the same time, a lot of these people live in Vancouver, say like myself, and it's a trek.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
I've heard it's exceedingly difficult. Yeah.
It's either expensive, because you either take a plane or the, and the ferry is also not cheap, or, you take the bus and that takes all day. It's hard to get out to the island. But if you have an NWSL team in your backyard, a team filled with, say, some local players, imagine, you managed to poach away a Christine Sinclair from Portland just for a final, few years just to really drive up interest. People will come. People love the game here. They don't care who, men's, women's, and especially with how, not only with the Whitecaps, their performance, but just also some of the stuff that's gone on with the front office. There's a lot of people that have fallen out of love with that team for some reason or another. And if an NWSL team came here, had some good players, was really promoting a good community environment, people would show up in droves. So I think the Vancouver market, if you're looking at an NWSL team, I'd say it's arguably the number 1 market, but if not, you're
convincing me. You're definitely convincing me because you're saying disgruntled Vancouver Whitecaps fans would embrace them putting money into a women's side. I think disgruntled TFC fans would be the complete opposite. Like, wait a second, you're starting an entire new club and we still have this and this problems on the roster. Buy me a center back. Like, so it's an interesting thing you just brought up, and I'm inclined to agree with you. I mean, despite the organizational failings of Vancouver and the women's side of the game, which I don't want to get into, but we certainly have to give lip service to. I guess
it would have to be an independent. The one thing I'll say is, like, if the Leonard Dudesees, if the Carefoots and the Mallets are involved in the women's team, no, it would not be a success, and for good reason. They failed in the past, not only with the women's program departing, but also with many of the issues that cropped up within the women's program. Obviously, some very traumatizing stories. So I think obviously you have to detach your name, but say an investor brought in some fresh voices, especially if Vancouver would embrace, a good, say women's coach, GM, owner, triopoly. I think Vancouver would be very open to that. And if those are the right voices in place, I see no reason why, say they were playing at BC Place, why they wouldn't get 20,000+ regularly coming out to watch a women's team. I think there's absolutely the appetite for it. In the local soccer community, in the Whitecaps community, it could easily be done here.
All right. Well, Alex, thanks so much you've been more than generous with your time today, certainly.
We've had, I think you might be the longest guest we've ever had.
Most definitely. Yeah. So we appreciate that, but you were the perfect guest this week in terms of kind of all of the headlines in Canadian soccer. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah. Are you you're coming to town, you legend, aren't you, for these games?
I am gonna be in town for the El Salvador game.
Amazing. Beer first round's on me, buddy.
Oh, you're too kind with that. So I'm unfortunately not able to make it for Honduras. I'll be watching on my couch for that one. But I'm going to be at El Salvador. My goal is to cover it for Between the Sticks. But if not, hey, you might catch me in the stands, and we'll have a grand old time. I'll be at the game for sure, no matter what.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Lovely.
Always great to talk to you, my friend.
Yeah, man, and keep up the great work, dude. Like, you're killing it right now on your socials. The coverage that you're doing for this country in general is absolutely fantastic. And I know how hard you've been working. I know where you started. So just to see where you're going, just keep it up, man. And you're going big places. And if you guys haven't followed him on Twitter, make sure you guys do follow Alex on Twitter, because I promise you won't regret it, especially if you guys want to grow the game in this country.
Great follow.
Thanks so much, guys. You're the best, and appreciate coming on the show to chat. Always a pleasure. So
anytime, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Catch you guys soon.
Cheers, man.
Cheers,
man. Well, yeah, Alex, always a great chat. We covered so much ground there in terms of the national team, the Whitecaps.
I love it. Now we don't have to talk as much.
Yeah. We have very minimal topics left to discuss. I think I did want to at least talk a little bit between the three of us about the national team, though, just because it is such a big week and there is so much going on.
For sure.
For me, we talked a little bit about the importance of this window, and Jeff, you also said something that I wanted to build on. You said we've already kind of proven that, these teams should be worried about us. Yes, and I think this builds on kind of the theme of this window. I don't think you can, again, the points are big. I don't think you can make any massive step forward in terms of World Cup qualification unless you get points or beat the States, because those two home games for me are must win. You have to beat Honduras at home. You have to beat El Salvador at home. We've seen, again, the 8-1 game wouldn't have mattered at all if Canada had beat Honduras at home.
Such a good
BMO
point.
Field. That window, it wouldn't have. No one would have cared. We would have lost 8-1. Who cares? We're through to the next round. So you have to win your home games. That's critical.
Why'd you have to take me back there?
I know.
Sorry. I know we're on the dawn of a qualifying campaign. It always finds a way back there until hopefully soon it won't. But
exercise those demons, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I also think the United States, and again, opposition otherwise, I think that's your easiest away date. And I know that's a tricky thing. Maybe Panama's slightly easier, but playing away in CONCACAF in like the Central American regions, in terms of the heat, in terms of the atmosphere you're playing against, it's different. Again, I've been told, and we know the quality of Honduras versus the quality of Mexico. Everyone's, and a friend of the show, Gavin Day, will tell you this easily. That's going to be your most tricky game in the entire San Pedro Sula, and it's just because of the atmosphere and just because they know how to set the opposition off, no matter how good you are, no matter how much experience you have playing there. And this Canada team doesn't have that much experience playing away in CONCACAF.
Let me pose it this way though, Mitch. Now that we have no longer people that are on unattached FC, now that we have people overseas that are used to playing in front of really rabid soccer fans,
CONCACAF hits different.
We know what Alphonso Davies has done on like some of the biggest stages. You remember? I mean, we can all talk about that clip where he absolutely destroys Lionel Messi and goes down the wing and sets up that gorgeous. Like, we can all talk about those moments.
Yeah.
Do you think that plays a factor there in propelling this Canadian team over the top on those tough away matches?
I think it definitely does. Like, I do think there's something to be said for. Again, that experience goes both ways. There's the fact that obviously these guys don't know quite what they're getting into, other than the few holdovers like the Atiba and Daniil Henry and those kind of veteran guys. But there's also the fact that they're going in with no fear, because they don't know what to expect. And
did you guys see the KJ interview with Richie? Man, boy, kid's confident.
We can tell you that. We can tell you that before even watching
that. I'm just saying, what I'm saying is that in terms of Canada proving it at this stage, for me, they've got to win one or two of those away games, and then I will absolutely believe. But that's got to come first, and I don't think they really have that opportunity to do that this window. But it's still critical for those home points that they can pick up. And again, if you can get anything against the States, then those are points in the bank that you can carry forward.
For sure.
For sure. Yeah.
That's a good
For
shout
sure.
there.
It's a pretty good first window, if we're being honest. I mean,
Amazing.
in terms of the opponents, in terms of the location for us, in terms of the weather that we might see. Nashville Stadium is not a fortress for the U.S. national team. Is this the first time they've played a competitive match there? Or it's got to be under 5. So, they're not exactly as experienced as, they don't know the intricacies of that ground in a way, and again, that I'm not afraid of any lineup that has Josh Sargent at the head of the attack. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna read.
I've been screaming that, Jeff. I've been screaming that Canada is a dark horse not only to finish 3rd, but I genuinely believe they have a shot at the top 2 in this group. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I don't think there's any reason why this team should not qualify. They have the talent. They have some of the experience. I think this team
have the chemistry. They have the brotherhood.
I think it's a disappointment if they don't qualify for any. I think it's like a very underwhelming performance if they don't go out there and qualify for the World Cup. I think that's the bare minimum, in my opinion. Even though they haven't done it,
I love it.
I think it is, man.
I love it. I mean, Matt has an interesting point. He says Thursday night's going to be super ugly. It's not going to be free-flowing football. It'll be crappy stop-start, lots of fouls, diving, and whining. Honduras will play smash and grab and will be thrilled with a point. I'm gonna disagree with that because we have so many weapons. They can go full tilt on Fonzie. Fonzie's shown he's willing to be that fulcrum of their attention. And then we've got Tajon or Richie or Kyle or Kava or Junior or
Jonathan
Oso
David.
or Jonathan David. I mean, come on, guys. Like, there's only 11 of them on outfield players. Like,
I think that's a pretty accurate description of I think what we'll see on that match. Like, it'll be literally a lot of fouling. Like, I'll tell you that right now. It'll be a really chippy affair.
And then we've got Steven Eustachio just making worldies from 50 yards out. Like,
that's the other side of the thing.
You know what I mean? Like,
Canada can compete.
Exactly. Like, where is there? Unless they, we could still win on 1 million PKs, right? Like, I just don't see how they're going to slow us down. Like,
he's not saying they won't win though. Just to be clear,
yeah,
no. He's giving a pretty accurate description. I think what we'll see, like, it's not going to be free flowing football. I agree. I think it'll be pretty stop and start
until we break their backs. And then they're finished, right? Like, and then it will be free flowing football because we'll have their way with them. You know what I mean? Like, one of the problems when you park the bus from the get-go is that you tire your guys out. There's not a lot of depth in this Honduras squad. If we break their game plan in the 15th minute, then it's 65 minutes of free-flowing Canada, football, right? It's weird because what a team. It's weird to even, to say this sort of thing. It's crazy, but I just don't see. I'm very much looking forward to Thursday, guys. I'm champing at the bit here, if we're being honest. And
yeah. But with that being said, like, I think the other side of that is the pressure is definitely on Canada in this game to come out and show this new generation in front of their home fans, right? Like, Honduras knows that anything in this game is massive for them. So, again, it's a tricky window. It's a good start for Canada in terms of the, like we said, the fixtures and the opponents, but nothing is granted and nothing is easy in this round. There's no easy game. So we're definitely probably going to be treated to that on Thursday.
Yeah. Let us never get to the point like our neighbors down south where we don't respect any of our opponents or own up to our own failings. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It must be. It doesn't even seem like a fun attitude on the outside looking in to be that obtuse, right? So let us forever counter our bluster with a little bit of that Canadian humility. Mm-hmm. But I want to see us railroad these guys. I want souls. I want to take some skulls this window. So, yeah. I mean, here's a question I got for you. Does Tajon start over Richie?
That's honestly for me, and I know we were talking about Tajon, and I know you made your prediction there, Michael, that Tajon's going to have an absolute breakout window, which I don't think I necessarily disagree with, but I think that's the $1 million question in this Canadian roster, because I think
we're no longer talking about whether Alfonso starts in the winger or as a wing back. Now it's the right side we have to deal with. So.
Yeah, I think most of it is pretty set in stone, considering the success they had with that 3 at the back at the Gold Cup. I would imagine you stick with that. And then it gets super tricky again on that right side because Richie's the more natural player there. But with that being said, I think, look, we've been having this conversation about both form and about both of these players and their potential to go to Europe. One of them is in Europe now, technically. He's on loan back to New England. But look, as much as I love Richie Laryea, Tajon Buchanan's just so much better than Richie Laryea.
It's not even close. Not even in the same stratosphere, man. Like,
right.
Tajon Buchanan is so much better than Richie Laryea right now. I said it a couple weeks back
right
on
now,
the show.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said it a couple of weeks back on the show. He's a better version of Richie Laryea. He's also 3-4 years young, like younger than Richie. Like the sky is the limit.
Richie's
22.
Richie's still 24 years old, man.
Okay.
Like no, he's older than that. He's older than that.
Yeah, I think he's older than that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll double check it, but
he's 26.
Point, Michael.
Oh, he's 26?
He's 26,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, man, like, and we heard John Herman talk about it, like, before Alphonso Davies went down. That's who he was planning on originally lining up last window. And then Tajon Buchanan had his whole breakout campaign at the Gold Cup. And there's no way you take that guy out of the lineup. That guy is, again, I believe he's going to be one of the best players, one of the most important players on this team. He's shown that he can be super annoying to play against. Like Tajon Buchanan tracking back, like he's a really good defender. He doesn't jump in too often. He uses his frame, his body well. He isn't afraid to back down from anyone. Same with Richie Laryea, but I think Tajon Buchanan's stature is a little bit more, and his ability going forward. Yes, Richie's good at it for a fullback, but Tajon Buchanan's good at going forward for a winger. Yep. So you combine all those assets, there's no chance, I think, that Richie Laryea starts over Tajon Buchanan here. And
he may start one of the games.
The beauty too is that you have, and of course I do think we'll see some rotation because you have to when you're playing 3 games in a week. And when you have that, like the squad that John Herdman has, like why not rotate some of the players? Like there is, definitely the ability, and you're not going to see a huge drop off in a lot of those positions if you substitute a player in. I think it also is a massive positive that you have Aleister Johnson now slotted to start on that right side of center back because he knows what he knows what Tajon's supposed to be doing, and he can constantly throughout the game remind him of where he should be on the field, what he should be doing, and keep him in check and fill in for him when Canada needs someone to cover.
Same
on
with
that
Richie
right
Laryea.
side. Yeah,
he does that for Richie too. Like we've seen that so often where he picks up, as you said there, Mitch, like picks up on those gaps, and he's ahead there at times. And his pace is also so useful in a back 3, along with Kamal Miller, who's shout out again, another pivotal piece of that back 3. And
what a wonderful story that was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I complimented John Herman on this a couple of shows back. It's just finding those 2 pieces to go along with your back 3 has been so crucial. They can keep possessions if they want to open up wide, push the wing backs up.
Yeah,
it's right now they're in synergy, and I'm excited to see them build off what was a successful 2021 so far.
Yeah. I think Atiba we see as a super sub. I don't know if he starts. Maybe the American game he starts. And an interesting shout about Aleister Johnson is his home ground is Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville.
Yeah, he's gonna be get that start.
You
better get secret weapon because he knows that pitch better than maybe some of the guys on the American squad. So
I'd say he's one of the few players that starts all 3 games. Like there's only maybe 5 players on the team that starts all 3 games, I say Aleister Johnson has grown into one of those players. Obviously, Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David. You just you can't take those guys out of the lineup. Maybe Kyle Aaron, depending on who else is healthy.
Probably
and then
too.
I don't know. With the Tiba back, I don't know if Eustáquio starts every single match.
Fair point. And that midfield, you got to get Mitch's boy Sammy P some minutes. You got to get Oso some minutes.
I think Sammy P will be. He's kind of faded off a little bit in terms of how crucial he is to this national team. He can play a specific role. If they're protecting a lead, Sammy P comes in and he's absolutely magnificent.
Get bulldog full tuck out there.
But I think he's actually in tough. He's going to be in tough to get like a steady run of play here, just because we're that deep again. Like we're not even talking about Mark Anthony Kay at all.
Yeah,
like Jonathan Osorio, obviously, and Junior Hoylett, your boy there. Like there's a lot of depth there at midfield, and Liam Fraser made the squad too. Similar type of player.
Yep.
It's a good problem to have, guys. It's a
great problem to have.
As we mentioned, they'll need to rotate that squad.
Absolutely.
One thing I wanted to pick up, kind of because we were in that vein about Aleister Johnson. He was on friend of the show, Devang Desai's football pod.
Good interview.
Great interview. Aleister Johnson, always a great interview.
He's so well spoken.
If you want to come on the show, Aleister, we'll have you anytime. But he was chatting about kind of confidence levels and coming out of Canada camp, and he was saying that his coach in Nashville, every time he comes back from Canada camp, is always like, "You're a better player now. Like you're so much more confident on the ball, everything." And I do think
you love to hear it.
Yeah, that's critical for so many reasons. Because one, national team, or they'll keep sending their players to the national team if they're coming back better. But I that's really something that honestly, John Herdman's raised the level of so many players. Kamal Miller, you can talk about, like, literally. I don't know what he does, but his ability to speak confidence into these players is incredible, and is something really that is really.
He's also setting them up to succeed too.
Yeah.
Right,
and then once the inertia catches up, exactly.
He's really found those positions for both Kamal Miller and Aleister Johnson. Like you see, in Montreal's reverted to doing the same thing now, because I don't know if that's the exact reason, but it's worked with the national team. That's how you get the best out of Kamal Miller. Yep. So, as you're saying there, Mitch, bang on. Credit to John Herdman again, because as you mentioned, it's so important to maintain that positive environment for your national team, because you'll just keep sending your players back there. Like Ozo, I'll even throw in there as well. Like he's always performing really well with that national team.
He is. He is. Even when he's struggling with the domestic side, he's always another 20%. He finds another gear when he suits up for the Canadian men's national team. Yeah.
Well, I think we'll blow the full-time whistle there. We've covered so many different topics on this week's show, especially, with Alex Gangue-Ruzic doing some heavy lifting this week. Really appreciate him taking the extra time to go over, Pacific and the Whitecaps and the national team and all those things. You can find his work, as we said, at BTS Van City for all your West Coast news that you need. Thanks, of course, to Kevin, Sophia, and Edwin for everything they do. Huge thank you, of course, to all of you listening. Again, hope to see you out at BMO Field this week. Hope to see some of you at the Darby Mag launch. Yeah, absolutely, going to be great to be together again. Obviously.
Oh wait, what's the word of the day? Now I forget. Ulster's thing. What? It's going to be a bender. It's going to be a bender.
We're of course forever appreciative of all the support and love you guys give the show and our various other projects. So until next Tuesday.
Cheers, guys.